White people are obsessed with black people. Two things. Number one, the demographic that is the most afraid of the specific demographic that I'm talking about, they're the only demographic that will go up to the danger because they hate it so bad. Does that even make sense to you? Second thing, the demographic that wants the most attention is the most afraid to be seen. Meaning, when a white person is driving and they notice a black person is across from them and they are afraid to make a turn, left or right, they are afraid that the black person is perceiving them and sees them as an idiot, which 9 times out of 10 they are. But at the end of the day, it always rings true. White people are
If you can't tell, the whole black Scottish thing and the whole gingers are black thing, like, Americans are obsessed with black people. It's clear. Even the racist ones. We are obsessed with black people. We love them. Most of us love them. There are a few of us that act like they hate them, but they're also obsessed.
This is reason 10,000 why racism is rooted in jealousy. Tell me why I received this message of a white man saying, well, you look like you've dated black men, and if you have, none of us want you. I didn't know this was an attitude that a lot of white men hold, but apparently they think that white women who sleep with black men or with brown men, they become tainted in some way, and they no longer want that white woman. But this is absolutely rooted in jealousy, because why would it matter to them unless black men made them feel insecure? There is something about black men sleeping with white women who they view as their possessions that really gets them feeling angry, like they aren't good enough, because let's face it, they aren't. And white men are obsessed with black men's penises. Like, they talk about it often online. You'll see comments like, I bet she takes black dick or whatever. And it's fucking weird and genuinely unsettling how much they talk about black men. If they weren't insecure, if they didn't feel jealous, then why would they talk about it? They wouldn't. Genuinely so embarrassing on their end, because quite literally anybody can see through like what they're doing.
There has been a deep conversation, sometimes loud, sometimes ignored, about the role black people have played in shaping the modern world and how often that contribution has been minimized, overlooked, or outright taken. When you realize, or when you really start to look into history, inventions, culture, science, music, language, even global trends, you begin to see something undeniable. Black creativity and labor are woven into the foundation of so many things we use and we contribute today or we celebrate today. From innovations in culture and engineering during slavery to groundbreaking inventions in science and technology to the global dominance of black culture in music, sports, and fashion. There is a pattern of contribution that is impossible to ignore, yet at the same time, there's also a pattern where recognition doesn't always follow contributions. Credit is often denied and delayed, diluted, or redirected. That's where the frustration comes from, because it's not just about who invented what, it's about acknowledgement, respect, and fairness. When people feel like their history is constantly being rewritten or their impact minimized, it creates a sense of injustice that doesn't just disappear. Well, guys, if you're new here, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your comments in the comment section, because we are about to dive into a lot of things that people do not draw so much light into. Okay, please don't forget, all right, to meet the original creators of these clips I've attached here. Let's watch and then we come back and discuss.
The amount of times I've been on dates with white men and they've asked me if I've dated black guys before is ridiculous. I was on a date with this white guy in Chicago last year and he goes, so who do you typically date? The guys that look like me? I knew exactly what he was getting at, because most white guys will ask this question at some point because they're trying to figure out ultimately if you're, quote, tainted. I literally said to him, does it bother you that you think about black men so much more than they will ever think about you? And that ended the conversation, but obviously we didn't go on a second date, and I do think he was pretty offended by that. But the amount of white guys, even who are, quote, liberal, who are genuinely threatened and intimidated by you going on a date with people of color is ridiculous. Because it's not just black men. If they find out that you've dated a South Asian man or you've been on dates with women, specifically women of color, they will react similarly. Although it is obviously the most pronounced and genuinely disgusted that they will look if you say that you have been on dates with black men. But this is just one example of white men trying to figure out the, quote, purity of the white women they're seeing. And it's a way of resource guarding their own women because they don't like white women seeing other races or other genders. People of color are objectively attractive. This is not a hot take. So many white white people look at beauty as simply being someone with white skin. It doesn't matter what that person's features are or how beautiful they really are. And I keep receiving comments on all of my posts about how people of color aren't attractive, how black women aren't attractive, and that is blatantly wrong. The reason you don't find them attractive is because you're lying to yourself because of white supremacy. I've even had people be like, oh, well, I find them attractive, I just won't date them to preserve my race and preserve my culture, thus admitting literally what I'm saying. I mean, look at this. Look, I'm going to show you some people. I mean, these people are just objectively absolutely stunning and beautiful. And a lot of celebrities who are people of color haven't had any work done, and they're so gorgeous. Whereas the white beauty standard is having a lot of filler, being on Ozempic, really altering your body to be as thin as possible. Just because you are claiming that someone isn't attractive does not mean that that is a universal thing. In fact, in a lot of places outside of America and Europe, non-white people are the standard. You can say what you want, but stop declaring who you find attractive as objective fact because you're fucking wrong. The top 3 things that white supremacists have confessed to me in my DMs. I have no idea why, but conservatives have started flocking to my DMs in hordes, confessing all of their insecurities to me. So here are the top 3. Number 1, nearly all of them have expressed anger and frustration that white women have stopped liking white men as much. According to them, there is no longer a preference that white women have for white men because of integration. And they're deeply upset by this fact because they believe that that advantage is the only way that they were able to get women. Number 2, most of them have confessed to me that they have a micro, and they have stated that this is one of the reasons that they are so insecure and mean to people. Specifically why they hate black men so much because of their perceived larger size. And confession number 3, most of them have said they have an inability to satisfy women, which leads to heightened feelings of insecurity and jealousy when seeing their wives or girlfriends with other men. And also it's the reason why a lot of them have fetishes for being a cuck. My DMs are not open to these types of messages. Do not send me these types of messages. And just know that if you do, I will be making content.
Now, when it comes to the idea of obsession, it's a complicated conversation. What some people interpret as obsession can come from multiple places: admiration, influence, competition, insecurity, curiosity, or even long-standing racial dynamics shaped by history. Black culture, for example, has an undeniable global influence. Music germs, slangs, fashion trends, athletic dominance, all of these are often adopted and imitated across cultures. That influence can sometimes blur the line between appreciation and appropriation, and that's where tension grows. The dating point that was actually brought up in part of these videos also taps into something deeper: perception, stereotypes, and insecurity. Society has long pushed certain narratives about race, masculinity, desirability, and identity. Some people internalize those narratives, which can lead to comparison or discomfort. But it's important to recognize that these feelings don't define entire groups. They reflect individuals reacting to social conditioning, media portraits, and personal beliefs. The bigger issue isn't really about one group being obsessed with another. It's about how history, power, and representation has shaped interactions between groups. For centuries, black people have been both marginalized and highly influential at the same time. That paradox creates tension, being deeply impactful yet not equal credited or respected. As for the idea of why not just acknowledge and respect instead of trying to claim, that's actually a fair question, and the answer often comes down to how systems of power have worked historically. Recreating isn't just about truth, or recognizing isn't just about truth. It's also about who controls the narrative. Over time, many contributions from black individuals were either ignored or reassigned because of those power structures. But things are changing. More people are questioning history, giving credit where it's due, and having honest conversations like this one. It's not perfect and it's not fast, but awareness is growing. At the end of the day, this conversation conversation shouldn't turn into division, it should push towards clarity and truth. Acknowledging Black contribution doesn't take anything away from anyone. In fact, it makes the story of human progress more accurate and more complete. And maybe that's the real goal, not competition, not comparison, but recognition. Anyway, guys, I am going to let the rest of the videos play out. Then we also come back and have more talk about this whole thing. Okay, let's let the rest of the video play out. Please do not forget that all rights remain to original creators of these clips have attached to these videos. All right, please, if you're new here, do not forget to like, subscribe, and drop your comments in the comment section. Let's let the rest of the videos play. Then we come back and discuss.
Swear to God that a lot of racism is rooted in sexual jealousy about specifically Black men, but most other races I've noticed that white men are jealous. And while this is more typically pronounced in regards to Black men because of these stereotypes about Black men's, there is a lot of envy from white men for men of color for very different reasons. Maybe it's the stereotypes of them being perceived as hardworking or dedicated, ambitious individuals, all of things that a lot of white men struggle with. Not to mention the way that a lot of Indian people could come to the US and literally start a business and thrive is really impressive. But it's just crazy how much racism is rooted in jealousy, specifically white men's inability to satisfy women, because that seems to be a problem that quite a lot of people have reported with white partners or husbands. Even with my content, I get a lot of white men in my DMs who want me to bully them or like sexually talk to them, down to them in a weird way, genuinely have inferiority complexes. I mean, these people are seriously psychologically upset and depressed over the way that they look. And so whatever amount of superiority they claim to feel on their white skin certainly doesn't extend to the bedroom. I will just say that.
Racist! You know what time it is. Let's talk. Question: why is it that when Black Americans are parked in a wide open lot, total freedom, no one around, complete isolation, that a pale chariot comes around carrying Little Red Riding Hood, who just got lost on the way to Grandma's house, pulling up right next to them? It's not just weird. It's colonial. This is what I call settler spatial behavior, or also known as punk-ass parking. It's an inherited compulsion to occupy a space that a Black body has claimed. Not because they need to, but because they must. This goes all the way back to stolen land and stolen lives, to squatting on indigenous villages, to building suburbs on Black displacements. White comfort demands their displacement. They are programmed to follow them, sit next to them, park right next to them, ask if the seat is taken next to them. And like dogs, they're afraid to be alone. Why? Because whiteness doesn't just crave safety. It craves proximity to what it fears and envies. It's not about the parking spot. It's about the psychological need to intrude. See, in settler colonial psychology, Black solitude is unacceptable. Because if Black people are alone, they might be safe. If they're safe, they might start remembering. And if they remember, racists are in trouble. So when you're parked in divine solitude and you see them swing their magic school bus right into the divine isolation of your peace and privacy, just know this: it's not by accident. That is the same energy as building plantations next to maroon settlements. The exact same algorithm that built Starbucks over sacred earth. The same weirdos that prefer pumpkin pie over sweet potato pie. So the next time someone's creeping into your solitude like a ghost on probation, just whisper to yourself, they've always needed to sit beside the power that they've tried to erase. But now, everybody knows, and they can't park next to royalty anymore. I'm just gonna come out and say it. A majority of white people wish that they were Black. They wish that they had the ability to create or invent. They wish that they had the ability to wear a variety of hairstyles. They wish that they had the ability to dance. They wish that they had original fashion. They wish that their style was memorable. They wish that they were able to turn heads in public. They wish that they could spend more than 2 hours in the sun. They wish to be desired. They wish that they could smell as good as Black people. They wish that they were as superior as Black people. They wish that they were as athletic as Black people. Even wish that they were indigenous and could be gifted an entire planet from the Most High. They wish that they could excel at music and the arts. They wish that they could be scholars like Black people. They wish that they were as intelligent as Black people. They wish that they could even cook like Black people. They even wish that they could look as cool as Black people do in their cars, which explains why they have the windows rolled down at all fucking times. And the real big one, they really wish that they could age as gracefully as Black people do. Talk to you later. Hey, white people, when Black people ask you what inventions white people have created, you can't just name a business. That's not how this game goes. You need to go back to when the first thing was invented of something. It's probably not a white person who invented it. When a Black person asks you, name one thing a white person invented, and you answer with Apple or Amazon, you are a literal All right, racist.
People often ask me, did you invent the helicopter? That's a complicated question.
Let's talk about the Black American inventor who holds the patent for the helicopter. The first usable helicopter was patented by Paul E. Williams on November 26, 1962. The first useful helicopter was the Lockheed Model 186. Paul E. Williams was born on February 1, 1894, in Los Angeles. In 1921, he became a licensed architect and became the first Black member of the American Institution of Architects in 1923. He also worked in the Navy Department as an architect during World War II. As an architect, Paul E. Williams designed over 3,000 buildings. In the early 1900s, vertical flying was a pipe dream for white engineers. They were too stupid to fully accomplish vertical flight. Many white invention thieves were thought to have a hand in the actual invention of the helicopter. Yet no one actually invented the rotors necessary for the usage of vertical flight until Paul E. Williams achieved his patent in 1908. The racism behind ignoring his work is mainly why this country fails to give him credit for inventing the helicopter. His patent wasn't even recognized until 1962. Another sly, coward attempt by white men to hide the achievements of Black Americans while simultaneously needing them. Paul Williams joins a list of many Black inventors whose work was stolen by inferior whites. His creation in rotor-based vertical flight was snubbed, and much was credited to Europeans, who couldn't even get their helicopter design off the ground. So we are 4 days into Black History Month, and we have yet to come across an invention or monumental invention by another race in this country. Was there anything that Native Americans invented in this country? Oh yes, that's right. Natives were building kayaks and inventing snow goggles that they can use on their reservations in the Grand Canyon, while Black Americans were committing the indigenous acts of building helicopters and designing homes.
When you really sit down and examine history without filters, without watered down textbooks, and without selective storytelling, a pattern becomes very clear. Black people have contributed immensely to the development of society across the world. Yet, the recognition of those contributions have often been delayed, minimized, or reassigned. This isn't just a random occurrence. It reflects how power, control, and narrative have worked over time. It's important to understand that during long periods of history, especially under systems like slavery and segregation, Black people were not only exploited for labor but also denied ownership of their ideas. Imagine creating something innovative, something useful, something that changes lives, and not being allowed to put your name on it, not being allowed to profit from it, and in many cases, watching someone else take full credit. That reality alone explains a lot of the frustration that still exists today. And it didn't just stop in those eras. Even after legal barriers began to fall, social and economic systems still made it harder for Black inventors, creators, and thinkers to get patents, funding, exposure, or recognition. So when people say Blacks invented almost everything, what they are really expressing is a deeper truth that Black contributions are far more significant than what mainstream narratives have historically acknowledged. Now let's talk about influence, because influence is where things become impossible to ignore. Black culture has shaped global culture in ways that go beyond debate. Music gems like hip hop, jazz, blues, R&B didn't just emerge, they transformed the entire entertainment industry. Fashion trends that dominate runways and social media often originate from Black communities. Language, slang, and even internet culture borrow heavily from Black expression. Athletic dominance in many sports have also brought global attention and admiration. So when people talk about obsession, it's often tied to this undeniable influence. You can't constantly consume, imitate, and benefit from something while pretending it doesn't hold value. That contradiction is where the tension lies. It's not just about liking something, it's about how that liking shows up. Is it respectful? Is it acknowledged? Or is it taken, repackaged, and presented without credit? There's also a psychological layer to all of this. Throughout history, Black people have been portrayed in extremes, either devalued or overly stereotyped in specific ways. These stereotypes, especially around visibility, talent, and identity, have been repeated so often that they've shaped how people think, even subconsciously. So when it comes to relationship or comparisons, like the one that was mentioned, those ideas don't come from nowhere. They are rooted in years of social conditioning, the media narrative. But here's where it's important to stay clear, because turning this into a blanket statement about all white people being obsessed oversimplifies something that is actually very complex. Not everyone thinks the same, acts the same, or feels the same way. Some people genuinely appreciate, respect, and give credit. Others may be unaware of the deeper history, and yes, some may act out of insecurity or bias. It's a mixed, not a single mindset. The real issue isn't just individuals, it's the system of recognition and how history has been told. Why were certain names highlighted while others were erased? Why were some contributions celebrated while others were ignored? Why is it only now, in more recent times, that many of these stories are being rediscovered and acknowledged? These questions matter more than simply asking who is obsessed with who. And the final point here is, if you can't beat them, join them. Why try to claim their work? Actually speaks to something deeper about validation and control. Claiming credit has always been tied to power. When you control the narrative, you control who gets remembered, who gets rewarded, and who gets respected. That's why claiming history is so important now. It shifts that control. What's happening today is not more people are becoming aware. Information is more accessible. Stories that were once buried are being brought to light. Black creators, thinkers, and innovators are not only contributing, they are owning their work, building platforms, and demanding respect, recognition in real time. So this conversation is evolving. It's moving from frustration to awareness, from silence to discussion, from being overlooked to being acknowledged. But it's still a work in progress. And maybe the most important take is this: recognizing Black excellence and contributing doesn't require comparison, competition, or conflict. It simply requires honesty. Because when history is told truthfully, there's no need to exaggerate or no need to argue. It speaks for itself. The goal isn't to rewrite history in reverse, it's to correct it so that everyone who contributed gets the credit they deserve. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching these videos. I hope by now you have been able to understand that a lot of times that this whole innovations has happened, especially when the Black people have been the one who made these innovations. They are always been segregated or hidden, or because I'm always asking, why exactly will some names be written and some are not? Like, why do you have to claim something that was built by someone else? But anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching these videos. Do let me know what you think in the comment section, because this conversation is so deep that talking about it right now does not really cover a lot of it, right? So just let me know what you think in the comment section. Let me know what you all think. Okay, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your comments in the comment section. Don't forget that all rights remain to the original creators of these clips that I've attached to this video. Thanks so much for watching this one. If you're new here, do not forget to subscribe. Here we talk about a lot of things that are not brought so much light to. We bring so much light to topics that people always take out and do not discuss. Okay, thanks so much for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next. Bye.